Hello guys, welcome to Statistical Academy. My name is Sanjay Reddy. In this video, I am going to assign a task of creating a vital signs dataset. This task is intended for those who have already completed learning SAS and looking to learn the clinical domain. This is a basic assignment for creating awareness about the data and brushing up the programming skills that you have learned. I will be creating detailed videos on clinical domain later, but before that, it is essential to have a solid understanding of data and possess proficient programming skills. Practice allows us to identify our weaknesses and areas of improvement. By making mistakes and receiving feedback, we can adjust our approach and refine our technique. This process of trial and error helps us to gain a deeper understanding of the skill and develop problem-solving skills. The data that we are using here in this video is fictitious data. Before we move further, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave a comment with your thoughts on the topic. Let us learn together. Here we have a raw data set named vitals_raw. As you can see, we have variables study identifier, site identifier, systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, pulse rate, oral temperature, height in inches, and weight in pounds, visit number, date of vital signs collection, reason for not collecting vital signs, status of vital signs measurements, subject identifier, and vital signs time variables. Also, we have an Excel workbook of instructions. This workbook has two tabs. We will dive into the variables tab. We have many columns here. What you have to do is, you have to create each of these variables and you should keep only these variables in your final dataset. First thing is to download all the datasets and workbook from the description of this video. Once you download these files and if you are working on the SAS Studio, please upload the downloaded datasets to one of your folders. Create a library using that folder's path. Let's say for example I have my dataset in this practice folder, so I will choose the path of this folder and create a library. From this library, I will reference the raw data set. Now we are able to access the required data set. Let us go to Excel workbook. We call it the specification from now onwards. First variable here you can see is study ID. The data type is character. Text is to indicate character. Integer or float is to indicate numeric variables. You can see the method here. If the study identifier is 1, then study ID equal to 1, 2, 3. We will check the raw data. So here we have 1, 2 and 3 values in the study identifier raw data variable. Based on this, you need to map the study ID variable. Next variable is the domain. Simply assign it as VS. After that, unique subject identifier. Concatenate the study ID that you have mapped just before and site identifier and subject identifier as shown here. Values are separated by hyphen like this. For your reference, I am also providing the final data set. Check here. Unique subject identifier should be mapped like this. Next variable is sequence number, which has to be derived lastly before assigning the column attributes. So here comes the very important variable test CD. As you can see the raw data, which is in horizontal form, you should make it vertical, which means you transpose the variables sysBP, diBP, pulse rate, oral temperature, height and weight. So VS test CD values should be like this. VS test values are given here. VS ORRES are results variable. This should be having the original results as collected. Units should be mapped like this as shown here. Next important variable is the standard results variable. If our original results for temperature are Fahrenheit, then you should convert them into Celsius using this formula. Same way for height and weight. For systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure and pulse rate, just simply set to the original results. For this variable, convert the standard result variable into numeric. Completion status variable. Whenever the completion status raw data variable equal to 0, then assign vsstat to not done. This variable should be set to the reason not done raw data variable. We have already visit and visit number variables in the raw data. Make sure the variable names are as per the mapping instruction in the final data set. Finally, we have the vsDate and vsTime variables. Those two should be concatenated to get the value in this format, which is called ISO 8601 format. Transpose the time variables and merge back to the main dataset. Lastly, our sequence variable should be derived as shown here, which will indicate the sequential numbers within each subject. All of the variables have mapping instructions. Please go as per this mapping specification. I have also given the final dataset. Please make sure that your final dataset should be like this. Once you finalize your dataset, you can compare your dataset with this dataset. Proc compare results should be showing no unequal values were found. Once your program is finalized and you have matched your dataset with the final dataset, if you are interested in explaining your programs, please make a video and send it to me as a Google Drive link on the mail ID in the About section of this channel. You can add the link of that video to your LinkedIn profile. If you are stuck anywhere or if you are unable to do all these, don't worry at all. We will be uploading the solutions with explanations of each step. Thank you, and I hope you will find this assignment helpful. If you find any mistakes in my data or anywhere, please comment below.